Good morning everyone and welcome back to Jo's Healthy Cupboard on this rather damp Saturday. I've just been for a run and I was about to head out the house, but I thought because Ivy was playing quite happily next to me that I would try and record this video. And what I want to talk about today is breastfeeding beyond a year, or sometimes known as extended breastfeeding. There's always these terms that, you know, I don't know what you call it, but anyway, it's a funny thing really, because I think there are a lot of ideas about this, and also there's not many statistics because I don't think many people really talk about it, which I find interesting. Not interesting, but like I could be having a conversation with someone who's a mum, and in my head I'm assuming, well, obviously they're not breastfeeding anymore, but then they might say something and they are, and I'm like, obviously, like, why wouldn't you? And I also want to preface this with, I'm not saying breastfeeding is best, I'm not saying that breastfeeding suits everyone, I am just purely sharing my story and some of the, I would say, stigma that is surrounded by breastfeeding beyond a year. Oh my goodness. Slight lighting change because the light has just gone. What this video is going to be about is some of the ideas about breastfeeding and things I've experienced about breastfeeding now that Ivy Rose is nearly 11 months or nearly a year. I'm definitely experiencing a shift in people's kind of comments and things, not in a nasty way, but just in a way that makes me feel like I should be stopping, basically because Ivy Rose is only a year, and for some reason in our society, in our culture, we believe that there's something, I don't want to say wrong with breastfeeding beyond a year, but there are definitely stigmas. So I very much get the impression, this is purely from my own experience and my own thoughts, that there's an expectation that women should stop breastfeeding at a year. And what I want to talk about is my experience of that, and why continuing beyond that, if you want to, if it suits you, is actually beneficial for yourself and your baby from the research I've done. So it's really interesting when you research breastfeeding statistics, because UNESCO have got some, but the latest UNESCO statistics are from 2010. Although in Scotland they did a maternal and infant nutrition study in 2018 that showed there was actually an increase in breastfeeding at various points. Can't find anything for breastfeeding beyond a year. I'm sure there must be something out there, but I can't find any statistics. Key two things from this Scottish maternal and infant study were that there has been a rise from 2010 and 2017 of babies still receiving breast milk at 6 months. So it went up from 32% in 2010 to 43% in 2017. And I think that a lot of that was due to a new strategy in Scotland where they were trying to encourage more breastfeeding and giving mothers more support. At 6 months, I couldn't find many statistics beyond that. The only other key statistic that I found, well, for me, I'm not saying it's key because obviously it's not important for other people, 2/3 of mothers who stopped feeding at 8 to 10 months said they'd have liked to continue longer. And that is the whole purpose of this video, because those 2/3 of mothers, I was definitely one of those first time round, although I did have a plan. I remember feeling like, okay, so I have to stop by 9 months. I have to stop by 9 months because that's like the norm, that's what everyone else does. And I remember thinking afterwards, like speaking to some mums who in conversation would tell me they were still feeding, maybe their baby was like 15 months, 16 months, almost 2, and they were still feeding. And I remember thinking, well, why did I feel like I had to stop at 8, 10, 9 months or whatever? In retrospect, it was the right time at the time, but this time round, and I never thought I would breastfeed beyond a year, I am pretty confident that unless Ivy stops herself or self-weans by then, that we will still be feeding beyond a year. And there are various reasons for that, partly because of the benefits. Some of the statistics that I read were, those were the two key things really that I kind of noticed, were that increase from 6 months on, babies still receiving breast milk, and also the fact I couldn't find statistics for beyond a year, and the fact that 2/3 of mothers said they wished that they had continued when they stopped at 8 to 10 months. So that is kind of why I'm making this video, because I want to remove the stigma. And I was kind of thinking to myself, do I tell people, like if I keep breastfeeding beyond a year, do I tell people, or do I just, you know, keep that on the DL? Do I keep it to myself? But now I'm thinking, the more I've read, the more I'm thinking I feel obligated to make this video, and I feel like it's important to remove that stigma. Generally, Ivy Rose is feeding mostly in the morning, first thing, and at night. But if I continue breastfeeding her beyond a year, I'm not going to stop. If she does want to have a feed during the day, I'm not going to stop feeding her in public if that is what we choose to do. So yeah, I think that's going to, like, mentally it feels like a challenge, and I've already been asked by so many people, oh, when are you stopping? Oh, I assume you'll be stopping at a year, or I assume you'll be stopping soon. I think it's just watching, like, I also want to highlight that you have to sometimes kind of think about what you're saying to people, because for, you know, for anyone that is breastfeeding, maybe they're not that confident. Maybe that kind of comment will stop them continuing when they stop them feeding when they actually want to continue, because I feel like I'm quite a strong-minded person, but those kind of comments do affect me, because there's a little part of your brain that thinks, oh, well, maybe I should be stopping. Like, maybe I should. But from everything I've read, I want to just highlight some of the benefits. A lot of, like, myths are that once a baby starts weaning, you know, breast milk's not doing anything for them. You're going to spoil them. They're going to be too attached to the mother. You can't have any time to yourself. You know, you're stuck with your baby. All these kind of things that are just not true. From what I have read, I found a really good website that I'll link below, which has lots of information about breastfeeding. I can't remember what it's called. My laptop's died. So continuing breastfeeding basically is like, I suppose it's a bit like taking a vitamin pill, because although they're getting a lot of their nutrition by a year from food, they're still getting vitamins, minerals and nutrients from breast milk. They're also getting immunity from some illnesses. Touch wood, Ivy Rose has barely been ill. I know she's not a nursery, so maybe, you know, she's not as around. Sorry, I'm just giving her a few snacks. But then she's got a brother who's around loads of other kids. So yeah, these are the benefits. That your child will continue to get immunity to some illnesses through your breast milk. They will continue to get vitamins and minerals. It's not going to be going away just because, like, obviously they're eating food. It doesn't mean that your breast milk's going to be less nutritious for them. It also helps comfort and soothe them. I think there's something that relaxes the baby. It makes them feel close, like it makes them feel safe and comforted. And also for the mum, like, I 100% know that, like, the calmest point of my day is when I take Ivy Rose up to bed and I sit down and I feed her before she goes to sleep. And the reason for that is that it produces feel-good hormones, prolactin and oxytocin, which may help mothers stay calm. I think there are a lot of benefits there, and that we shouldn't be afraid to share the fact that we're still breastfeeding beyond a year. You know, we should be proud of that. And as I said, I don't believe that it's right for every single mother and every single baby at all. Like, you have to do what's right for your well-being, because 100% believe that a happy mother is a happy baby. And if breastfeeding doesn't make you feel happy, obviously a lot of people find it hard, and I am not taking away from any of that. All I'm saying is that for those mothers, those 2/3 who say that they wish they had continued for longer, you can continue for longer. You don't have to stop just because society says it. In many cultures, it's the norm to breastfeed for 2 or 3 years. The WHO, the World Health Organization, recommends breastfeeding for 2 years. Mammals naturally who wean themselves, there's been studies done on that. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to feed Ivy Rose till she's, you know, going to school, but in various different mammal groups, studies that were done, they naturally weaned themselves and they were, you know, 5 or 6 years old. I feel like there's an important part of all the breastfeeding support and all the breastfeeding kind of energy goes into helping mothers get started and helping them with problems at the beginning. But there is nothing that's saying if you choose to breastfeed beyond a year, that's okay. Everything I see is that and this is just a perception, it's not a fact or anything, what I see and feel is that if you breastfeed beyond a year, it's got to be a secret, or like you don't tell anyone, or people think you're weird. I don't know, I just feel that, and maybe that's just me, but the fact that there are no statistics and the fact that you don't hear people talking about it and sharing about it unless you're having one-to-one conversations implies to me that there is a lot of work to be done in normalising breastfeeding beyond a year. And we in the UK are still the lowest worldwide country. I'm pretty sure I read that. The UK has some of the lowest rates of breastfeeding in the world. 8 out of 10 women stop before they want to. So what can we do to normalise that in terms of the people that can continue? What can we do? Any suggestions below? Like, what can we do to try and make it mums feel comfortable and families feel confident and society and culture to stop making kind of judgments and comments and stereotypes towards mothers who continue to breastfeed beyond a year because they want to. You're not going to spoil your baby, they're not going to be like attached to you for life. There are nutrients, there are benefits, as I've highlighted, and if you want to do that, I'm saying let's all get together, let's all share it, let's all be more confident and not be afraid to share. What are you saying, Mrs.? That we are breastfeeding mums. That is my little thought for the day. I was gonna make a lactation cookie recipe. I know. So I think what I'll do is do that next time, because this video is already longer than I intended and I waffled too much. What are you saying? You pointing at me. And this little lady is probably not going to sit for much longer. So the lactation cookie recipe I will make next time, or next video. I'll write it down as another video to make. I was going to make cinnamon lactation cookies, and if you don't know what those are, they are cookies that have ingredients called galactagogues, I can't pronounce it, but ingredients that are meant to help promote breast milk production. And that's not scientific, it's kind of out there in the ether and believed to help, but there's not scientific evidence for it, but they taste good. So let's make lactation cookies next time. So I hope that rambling makes a little bit of sense, and that if you are a mother who feels the pressure to stop breastfeeding but doesn't want to, know that I am in that position too, and that we need to just feel and go with our gut as mums and do what's best for our babies. So have a lovely weekend or week, because I'll probably put this out on Monday, and I will speak to you all soon. Say bye, Ivy. You gonna wave? Bye bye.